Welcome back to another episode of Befuddled and Confused with Mike and Lizzie. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And so we could get some more feedback about the topics we're talking about. See if we're even on point on some of these topics. Today, I'm pulling up some information about this thing called the wage gap.
Yes.
So people look at the wage gap differently. So you say you believe there is a wage gap, right, Lizzie?
Yeah, there is somewhat of a wage gap.
Between what?
Men and women, and also depending on your ethnicity.
Okay. What is the wage gap that you found between men and women?
Well, that depends on what type of job you have. So I believe, like whether you have a professional job or, a different kind of job. I know for, I read somewhere that women get paid about 82 cents on the dollar of what men get paid. And if professional, I believe you get paid even less, like maybe 70 cents on the dollar. And then it also depends on your ethnicity. If you're, white or Asian compared to black or Hispanic.
Okay. Very simple point.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of world do we live in? Are we a socialist, communist, capitalist? What are we here in the United States? This isn't a trick question.
Well, I don't think we're socialists.
We're capitalists, right?
Yeah.
Which means everyone's out for their own self, which means everyone makes the most money.
Yeah.
Second question. What, you might not know the most current statistic. I did look them up though. What do you think the current unemployment rate of women is versus the unemployment of men is?
No, I don't know that.
They're equal. 6.1% women, 6.1% of men. Now, if everyone looks at the bottom line and wants to hire and make the most money, all things being equal, why the hell wouldn't the men's unemployment rate be through the roof and everyone hiring women? If I could get away with paying women 80% of what I could pay a man.
Yeah, that's true.
So where are these statistics coming from?
I don't know. I looked it up and clicked on different things, and it even said it doesn't matter if a woman were to get more of an education, still be lower the pay rate.
Right, and so what they don't take into consideration, one, is the education, right? When they compare it, they're not comparing apples to apples. In my opinion, they're comparing apples to oranges. And this might sound sexist, but this goes back to last week's topic. You're not going to pay a woman the exact same that you're going to pay a man when a woman's going to take off on maternity leave by choice, according to you, because she could choose to kill the baby. Right? Because then the business still has to pay that woman the same wage. On average, men take jobs that are higher risk. Men work longer hours. On average, there are women, don't get me wrong, you might be one of those women watching, or you are one of those women that put in extra hours. There are women that put in longer hours. But on average, women don't like to work the longer hours. They also are the first to take time off for their children.
But men are also allowed now, that I know of, to take, it's not called maternity leave, but if their wife has a baby, they're allowed to. They're allowed to take time off too.
But that's not totally true. How does that work?
Well, I don't know. We have a friend who, his sister just had a baby, and I know the husband, I think he's able to take off 2 months right now.
Is she taking time off?
Yeah. And so is he.
Because from what I understand, you're given so much, and I could be wrong, you're given so much time off, so the woman can take it all, or you could split it between the man and the woman. But it's still the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So you're given, let's just say, and I could be wrong, from my understanding, you're given 8 weeks. A woman can take 8 weeks, or the man can take 4 weeks and the woman can take 4 weeks. It's still 8 weeks total.
Yeah.
So it's not like it changed much. But I could be wrong on that. However, how many men are actually going to take the time off? So your friend just took it off.
I think it depends on the situation.
Right, it does.
Yeah.
Because you're not making the full income.
Yeah.
So going back, let's see. I need to take off my glasses because I can't read. First of all, who makes the most income in the United States? What race?
I didn't look that up.
Asians. Asians have the highest income. Then after that that's Asian men and women. Then after that comes Pacific Islander men. Then after that comes American Indian men. Then comes white men. And then comes Hispanic men and black men. Which is pretty ironic because everyone compares everything to white people. Controlled lifetime earnings when job characteristics are equal, right? And this is where I want to get into is it depends on the studies that you go to, right? Because it says controlled lifetime earnings when job characteristics are equal. It does not say time and field. It does not say experience in field. It does not say education in field. And so everything's skewed, right? And the top one is Asian men, then Asian women, Pacific Islander men, Pacific Islander or American Indian men, then white men, then Pacific Islander women, Hispanic men, Hispanic women, white women, black men. So it goes down from there. Now, if you break it up, and this is just stuff that I found, right? Individual contributor, this is in the work. It says, what I found was 60% are white, 59%, and this is the population, so 60% of the white people are in an individual contributor work relationship. And then it goes 59% black, 66% black, 59% American Indian, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes to manager supervisor, 26% of the white population is in managerial supervisor role, 29% American Indian, 24% black. Then you go to the next one, directors, which is a higher up position, 9% white, 8% American Indian, 7% black. And the reason in executives it goes even worse, whites are 5%, American Indian are 4%, black are 3%. Now, when you take statistics, and there's, I think our population right now is, from what I remember, do you know what percent is white in America?
For the population? No.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around 60%. So 60% of 330 million is close to 185 million people are white. And then, do you know what percent are black?
No.
I think it's somewhere around 13%. So 13% of 330 million is somewhere around 26, 39, 42%. Or 42 million. So you have 189 million people versus 42 million, right? And so when you say 5% are executives of the 189 million, that's almost 10 million people versus 10% of the 42 million, which would be about 4 million. So when you take their averages of income, depending on what role, so if I'm an executive for Amazon versus being an executive of a brand that's just coming out, and you try and compare their wages, who's going to make more money?
Probably you.
The Amazon.
Yeah, the Amazon.
Right? And so I when they say this wage gap, I think it's a false narrative. Because have you been in a position where all things being equal and you get paid less?
Trying to think.
Because you were in the educational system for a while.
Yeah. Not there. I don't think, you know. I don't think so.
Do you know anyone? Do you know of anyone? Everything being equal and their pays being off.
Honestly, no. Yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I've been in the restaurant industry, right? And one of them was.
Wait. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so my cousin, she worked at a company for years. I don't even know how many years. And she was making. No, I was surprised. I thought she was making more money. Let's just say around $18, $19 an hour.
Okay.
But she was doing all this other extra work, more than just what her position was. But it wasn't in her job description.
Okay.
So she decided to go set out and get another job where they offered her more money. And she told her, employer. So all of a sudden they were willing to pay her more. They're like, okay, we'll match it. They're gonna pay you 22, we'll pay you 22. And then it was like, okay, we'll pay you 25. And it just kept going up, and it could have been like a little war. And she decided, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna take this other position, And they actually paid her more, because she's like, they knew what I was doing, that they knew what her position was, and she should have been getting paid more, but they weren't doing it. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but was there someone else doing the exact same job getting paid more?
Yeah,
in her company?
There was other people in the company. I don't know if they were male or female though, but they were getting paid more.
Right, and that goes back to the very controversial person Jordan Peterson, where he talks about the differences between men and women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they gave your cousin, it was your cousin, right?
Mm-hmm.
They gave your cousin work and she didn't say anything, she just did it. Where it's more likely, I shouldn't say more likely, a male is less likely to take on work without pay. A woman is more relationship oriented, people oriented, and like I know this sounds sexist, women are more emotional, which like it sounds bad, but emotional can be actually a good thing depending on the situation, right? And so like she did, like if there is a true wage gap, right? She did what like any smart person would do. She went and got another job and like found out she could get paid more, right? And that goes back to, this brings another topic, right? Minimum wage. People are like, oh, you can't live off of minimum wage. Well, if you know your self-worth, like you fight for something more. Like, you don't expect something more. Your cousin didn't expect, yeah, she did. But although she wanted more, she went out and sought more. She didn't sit there and like say you owe me more, and then they didn't give it to me and just sit there. She went out and got something. And that's where I'm coming from. Like, is there a true wage gap, or is there a a difference in how we go about our wages?
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you're black or white or whatever. Like, if you could do the job, you could do the job. Like, I don't want like the whole, what's it called when you're given a job based upon your color.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think they got
As
rid of
long
that,
as
but it's coming back.
As long as
right?
you're not white, yeah.
Affirmative action?
There you go. My friend Danny, when we graduated college or high school, he got denied a job. He qualified every way. He got denied the job because he was white.
I get that.
They said we had to give it to someone that's a minority. I don't want you getting a job based upon your color, and I don't think you should get paid based upon your color. Like,
you should get paid upon your qualifications, or whatever the job description is. If you've got the education, the experience, qualifications.
And even that is living in an ideal world, because once again we live in a capitalistic society. So you're going to get paid based upon what you think your self-worth is. Because so in the past few years I went through quite a few jobs. So to be open and transparent, like I was working at California Pizza Kitchen. I forget how much I was making. Like I know I was making some good money there. And then something happened, and I was looking for a new job, and I went to Starbucks. Like I worked for In-N-Out Burger for 14 and a half years. Great company. Went up through management. I was what they call an all-star, where I went and opened stores. I knew a lot of the big wigs. Like I got paid good money in and out. And then I went to a full-service restaurant at California Pizza Kitchen, took a pay cut. Didn't know I could fight for more money. So I took what they gave me. Then when I went to Starbucks, they paid me a lot less than even California Pizza Kitchen. Like from what I worked at In-N-Out, I went from In-N-Out making almost six figures to Starbucks making $38,000 a year. Didn't know my self-worth, right?
Yeah.
Then I built up at In-N-Out, and I built myself back up to like, I think it was like $48,000 a year, which isn't much, plus bonus. Then I went to McMaster Carr, and that's where they wanted people in management, but they wanted people they were in restaurant industry or teachers and got tired. And I got paid, I think I started out at $25 an hour because I knew my self-worth, right? Come to find out, I was getting paid more than most of the other people there because they settled for $20 an hour. And they'd been there for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I was brand new. Then once I left there, then I started realizing, like, I gotta fight for my money.
Yeah.
Like, understanding my self-worth. And so every job since then, like, I've been making more and more money. Except for one job two jobs. One, I was a driver for Schwann's, which was a crappy job. And the other one, I got lied to. I was told I'd make $60,000 a year plus bonus, and that was at Sabaro's, that pizza place in the thing. They didn't tell me though that I'd be an hourly worker. So that $60,000 was divided up, and they're like, "Oh, you have to work like 60 hours a week." So like I was getting paid like $15 an hour. I was like, "This is bull crap." I was there for like 3 or 4 months.
I think if you are a hard worker, you're doing your job, and you feel you're not getting paid enough, and if you go ask, and if your employer, knows that, you are worth it, they will pay you. And I know that because my employer, like they keep calling me back.
Yep.
And last time when I went back, after a year that I had quit and I went back, and I was told, well, you're going to get paid this much. Then me now looking at my pay stubs, but realizing, hey, it kind of doesn't make sense what I'm making. And then when I finally did realize around tax time, when I had to print out like W-2s or whatever, I looked at it and was like, wait a minute, I came back in December, we're in February now, and I'm not making what you told me. And I went to the manager, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, I don't want you to quit. Let me talk to the boss. The boss called me, and we talked. He apologized, and then later on his wife was like, I'm really sorry. We talked to payroll. They were supposed to pay you this much, and they didn't. So we're going to put it on there, and we owe you like 200 and some hours, and they issued an extra check to me.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And my boss just told me, if you ever have an issue, please come to me. And I'm sorry this happened.
Right, and so, like, I surround myself with strong women, right? And so, like, even strong women of different culture or different ethnicity, like, I don't know what you want to say. They're not white. So, like, maybe I live in an echo chamber. However, like, I think you're proving my point. There is no wage gap, right? Like, your cousin proves to me there is no wage gap. What it is understanding your self-worth and being willing to fight for it. Like, if you have to be willing to lose in order to gain. Yeah. Right? Like if I am working at a job that, like, I think I'm underappreciated, undervalued, and I continue to stay there and I ask for a raise and they don't give me a raise and I continue to work there, like, whose fault is it?
Yours.
It's not them for paying me that. Like, I accepted the situation.
Yeah.
And like, some people will be like, well, we're stuck in this situation. No, you're really not. Like, what are there, like 7 million jobs available right now?
Oh yeah, there's tons of jobs available and nobody wants to work.
Right, and like, I think I have over 300 customers, 300 to 600 customers. I don't know the exact number. Every time I go in, they're like, "Yeah, we can't hire right now. Like, no one wants to hire." My mechanic can't find a mechanic right now. Like, there are so many jobs. If people were willing to work, like now is the time to get in there before the EDD ends, the unemployment. Because if I was still in management and all of a sudden I knew the unemployment ended and then someone came to work, I would not hire them straight off the bat because they were lazy during the unemployment.
Yeah.
They wanted.
Well, you
to
got to
figure-
ask them too. What did they do during unemployment? You know?
Right, and my first question would be during the pandemic and this whole time that you have no work history, what skill or hobby did you pick up that bettered your life?
Yeah.
And like if they try and BS me, oh, I started reading books. Really, tell me a book that you read that bettered your life, not some science fiction, Harry Potter bullshit. Like how did you
Yeah.
better your life? You know, I have a trigger out there. Like I learned how to cook. Like I've been reading books constantly. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I have other books about sales because like I'm in sales and like I'm continually reading to try and better myself. And I'm still out there working.
Hey, I learned how to make bath scrubs and lotions and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't start a podcast, if you didn't start a YouTube channel, if you didn't start reading a book, if you didn't like get more into your faith, if you didn't start a side hustle, like then what did you do besides Netflix and chill?
Yeah.
Like they talk about all these boomer babies, like there's gonna be COVID babies, man.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's gonna be ridiculous. So, what evidence do you have that there's a wage gap?
Well, it's just what I was reading. Actually, I think I didn't find anything from this year. I was looking at things from like, I think it was 2018. So in my little graph, it shows for every white man that earns $1, shows that American Indian, Alaska Native earns 57 cents.
According to what job?
It was a median for, it didn't really say what job. It was from the census and all this stuff.
So, and this might sound racist or out of context. However, do you know that one of the highest unemployments are Native Americans on the reservation, and there's a high alcoholism rate?
Oh yeah, I believe that.
So also with that, they have a steady income from the casinos. So if you're just comparing wages, right, and not specific jobs, not specific time, like some of those Native Americans, even though they were screwed over by whoever you want to say that made their promises, right? Yes, they got a shorthand, but are we comparing the ones that are sitting at home collecting the money from the casinos versus executives? Or are we like comparing apples to apples?
Yeah.
And that's where I come from when we have these debates or even these talks is like I can't even find specific statistics because all statistics are skewed based upon what you want to find.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I was saying about that?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
I think some of it says like, if there was a question, can women close the gap by choosing different occupations? And it says maybe, but it stems from economic and social, forces. So
What does that mean?
I think if they, further their education, things like that.
Right.
But then like I told you, I read, and it says sometimes it doesn't matter if they further their education,
Right. And this might be wrong too, but like even when I was hiring, like I was always concerned if they would get pregnant. Because that leaves me a gap of time, and like I might get some hate on this, and like I understand it. However, like you're running a business, and I when you gotta pay someone to not be there and ask the rest of the workers to step up and fill in that gap, that causes some hardship.
Yeah, and that was in here too, that women, it's basically considered like a motherhood penalty.
And it is.
Yeah.
I do see that. I don't think that's a wage gap. I think that would be more reflective in the unemployment rate, a woman being harder to find a job. But like my sister, like she had kids. She like knew how to work around things, and she got paid really well. Like she got paid more than the dudes. Like, and it's because of her education and like what she proved herself. Like you get paid well, you fought for yourself because there was people at your work that got paid less than you that were dudes. Your cousin, like she probably went to another job, got paid more than some of the dudes.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with sex. I think it has to do with knowing your self-worth. Coming back to it and being upfront, because like being upfront with people helps a lot. Like, hey, like I'm planning to have a kid down the road. I just want to forewarn you.
Yeah.
You know, but this is what I can bring to your table till then. And yes, I will take maternity leave, but this is what I could do while I'm on maternity leave. Like, like set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
You know, because like motherhood and fatherhood, whichever one you want to do, is not easy. Doesn't mean you have to stop working altogether, especially nowadays.
Oh yeah.
You know, like yeah, okay, work from home, but you know what? Like you're very good at bookkeeping. You could offer to continue doing the books and like, hey, we're not gonna pay you maternity leave. We'll pay you regular salary.
Yeah.
And you just help us out that way, but you can do it all at home. Like there's ways around this motherhood penalty that we have that people don't see, and it's you need to be more creative nowadays.
Yeah.
So do you still believe there's a wage gap?
I mean, I think there is, but it's not as big as they make it seem out to be. You get what I'm saying? I don't believe it's as big as they make it seem to be.
So what does the wage gap do to?
What's it due to?
Yeah. If we live in a capitalist society and I get away with paying someone less, wouldn't the white male unemployment rate be through the roof?
Yeah, I think it should be, because I mean, like you said, you could get away with paying, you know, a Hispanic person less than a white person, then you would hire a Hispanic person.
If all things are equal.
Yeah.
If not all things are equal, you're gonna hire who's best for the job.
Yeah.
And that creates a wage gap. People coming out of, especially in this next generation, right? I got my first job at 12 years old. When did you get your first job?
I was like 17.
Okay, so you got your first job at 17. So my first job was umpiring girls fast pitch softball. Like, cool. It was during the summer, some winter ball, some travel ball. I mean, that was good money as a 12-year-old. You know, I think I got paid $25 a game. Sometimes I do 4 or 5 games on a weekend. $125 in my pocket. Didn't have to claim nothing. What to do? Then my first job was at 16. So like I started working at 12, 16 years old, and like people in my generation, and your generation. Yeah, I guess we're still sort of in the same generation.
I'm not that much older.
Being in that generation, like when I went to high school or when I went to school, like I had to work. I played sports. I had to get my grades up and all this stuff. Nowadays, and people say, "Oh, school's harder." Like they go to school, then they go to college, and then they get out and they expect to make all this money and they have no work history.
And they expect parents to support them through everything.
Right. Like I have one customer. Her daughter is in San Diego and going to graduate college this year, and her rent is insane. And like all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh yeah, like she told her daughter, yeah, you're going to graduate and like you're cut off now. You're going to find out how to pay your own rent and all this." And she's like, "How am I going to do this?" She's like, "You should have been planning for this."
Yeah.
Like, and that's what happens is the wage gap, I think, is going to become exponential now. Because those people that were working, and once again, this might sound racist, like the Asian community, because like a lot of the Asian community have family-owned businesses, so they have their kids working with them, and so they have a work history. Like that wage gap is going to be exorbitant because they will have a work history. So when they graduate, they can show that they have a work ethic.
Yeah.
Where white kids, minority kids, well, Asians are a minority. Like everyone else besides Asians, like I mean, even Indians, Middle Eastern Indians have the family businesses, so like they'll be able to show the work history. But the whites, the Hispanics, and the blacks won't have that work history, and so the wage gap is going to get bigger.
Yeah.
In that aspect, and like that's just saying, and that's I guess going against my point, saying there is no wage gap. That wage gap is going to be due to experience.
Yeah.
Which I think it is now. Experience, education, time in the work field, like so many different things are going to attribute to the wage gap.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. Anything you want to add?
No.
Anything else you want to argue about?
No.
Okay. Please comment, share, like, subscribe. We did get one comment last week saying when the heartbeat did start, it starts at 4 to 5 weeks, or 3 to 4 weeks, and I actually researched it even more. And brain activity starts at 5 weeks, so that means they start feeling at 5 weeks because they have a brain. So just some food for that. A little last dig at Liz, and she will decide our topic for next week, and we will research it.